We saw in the last exercise how you can hyperlink from grouped objects. Now, while that was a workable solution, it's not a very good one because it's extremely time consuming. So instead of simply being able to click a group once, like this, and simply insert your hyperlink, you've got to ungroup it, then do double the amount of hyperlinking to link each object to the slide, and then you've got to group them again. So it's a lot of work to start off with, and worse yet, if you then go back and decide you need to change your hyperlinks, and believe me, when you're dealing with big slideshows, this is going to happen a lot. You then have to go through that entire process again. And this is the kind of thing that can make doing the inverted commas finishing touches to your PowerPoint become this never-ending process that just seems to go on and on and on. So I'm going to show you a technique now, which if you just take a little bit of time to do it at the beginning, is going to save you a huge amount of heartache down the line. In order to avoid having to work with groups as hyperlinks, I want to just make these little buttons into flat images. And the way you do that is in GIMP. Now, you could, of course, just make these in GIMP in the first place, and there is actually a video on that. So you can check that out in the GIMP training, and it's very, very quick and easy. But another way you can do it, if you've already got these groups set up in PowerPoint, and that's the way you like to work, there's a very quick and easy way that you can get these into GIMP and then get them back in as simple images. So that's what we're going to see now. What you need to do is duplicate the slide that you want to get these pictures from. So I right click and duplicate. Now I'm going to right click and go Format Background. And all I want to do is give this a flat colored background that's going to help me extract these button images. So you just need a solid fill, and any color is fine as long as it's going to contrast sharply with these buttons. So what I wouldn't want to do in this case is use white, because that's obviously going to get rid of these boundaries, these little borders around the buttons. And even if I use something like a very light gray, it's still probably not ideal. So best to do something with a nice drastic effect. You don't want to apply it to all, we still want our other slides to look the same, so I'm just going to click Close. Then what you do is you go into slideshow mode, and we have this full screen image. Now you want to make sure that your mouse is not hovering over any of these actual buttons, and on your keyboard you'll find a key which just says Print Screen. It might be abbreviated to something like PRNT, but it'll be somewhere there, and you just hit it once. Now if I escape out of this PowerPoint, we can see that what Print Screen does is it takes a snapshot of whatever's on your computer screen and puts it on the clipboard. The clipboard is the place where anything that you cut or copy gets put before you paste it. And if we go to the Home tab, we have this clipboard menu. I can click this menu, and here you can actually see this item. So we can see how that screenshot of our full screen PowerPoint has been placed on the clipboard. So this is now actually available not only in PowerPoint but in any other computer program. Now what you want to do is you want to go into GIMP and create a new image. So you go File, New, and you want to use the template which says 1600 by 1200. And very important, under Advanced Options, you want to make sure that your resolution is set to 72. Then just click OK. And we saw just now how we had got this screenshot and put it on the clipboard. So what you can now do is simply go Edit, Paste, and that pastes it from the clipboard into GIMP. So you get what is called a floating selection, and in order to make this into an actual layer that you can edit, you need to double click on this name area and give it a new name. So I'm going to call this Base. And then you hit Enter. And now you can see this thumbnail shows us that we have an actual layer. If you want to know more about working with layers in GIMP, you can check out the Layers chapter of the GIMP training. Now I want to get rid of everything apart from these little selection buttons. So I'm going to take the Fuzzy Select tool. I am going to click in this red area. So that's selected all of this red. I am going to set it to Add to the current selection. And I'm going to select these black areas. And then I'm just going to select these green parts at the bottom. And now I have everything but these buttons selected. Again, if you want to know more about how to use these selection tools, you can check out the selection chapter in the GIMP training. What I can now do is simply hit the delete key, and as you can see, all of that color has gone. I'm also going to click on this background layer and delete it. So what we now have is our 5 buttons simply sitting on a layer of transparency. The next step is to get each one of these buttons onto its own new layer. So all you need to do is take this rectangle select tool, and with this layer selected, drag around any one of these images, and I'm going to go Control C to copy it and Control V to paste it. And again, you need to double click this name area, give the layer a new name like T-Row, and hit enter. So what you can now see is that T-Row has been promoted to his own separate layer. We still have a copy of him down here because we copied it. And we now have this layer on the top where we can actually move him around and do all kinds of different things. Once you have the button on a new layer, you just need to go up to the layer menu and you need to click Auto Crop Layer. And then what you need to do is you simply need to go back to your base layer and do exactly the same process for each button, so each one is on its own new layer. So very quickly, I'm going to select Rinky. I'm going to go Control C, Control V, double click the name the layer, hit enter. Go up to the layer menu and hit Auto Crop Layer. I go back to my base layer, I select Dooney. Control C, Control V, double click, name it Dooney, hit enter. Layers menu, Auto Crop Layer. Back to the base, hippo key, Control C, Control V, double click, name, enter. Layer menu, Auto Crop Layer. Chikimo, Control C, Control V, double click here. Chikimo, enter, layer, Auto Crop Layer. So I now have each one of these 5 buttons on its own layer, and so I can actually turn off this base. I don't really need to see that anymore. Now what I need to do is I need to get each one of these images aligned right on top of the other. And that's actually why we did this Auto Crop Layer. What you can now do is you select this tool over here, which is the alignment tool. And if you're familiar with how to align objects in PowerPoint, it works on kind of the same principle. So what you want to do is you first have to use this little hand icon to select an object to align. I actually want to align all of these at the same time. So I am going to hold down the Shift key and then click on each one of these items. And I'm going to align relative to the image. And when I hit this left button, they're all going to align to the left. And when I hit top, we only see Chikimo, but that's because Chikimo is at the top layer. So we actually have a situation where each one of these buttons is in the very top left corner of the image. And what I now want to do is just cut out all of this extra space that we don't actually need. So I'm going to go Image, Fit Canvas to Layers. So what that's going to do is it's going to decrease the size of this canvas just to the size where these pixels are. Now at first it's going to be a slight problem, and I'll show you why. It hasn't come anywhere close. The reason is because we still have this base layer, and so you see it's taking that into account. So what I actually want to do is delete that layer, and I'm just going to do that again. So Fit Canvas to Layers, and there you go. Absolutely perfect. So the process from here is very, very simple. You just need to go File, Save for Web, and you can choose GIF. The reason we choose GIF is because we want this transparency in the background. And we can see here as well that this file is only going to be 13 kilobytes, which is absolutely tiny, so that's no problem. And you just click Save, and I'm going to call this Chikimo. You can then browse where you want to save this. So I'm going to save this in our video training. And I'm actually going to call this Button Chikimo. and you just click save. Then what you can do is you can turn off this Chickimo layer. So now we see HippoKey. So if I save this as a GIF, it's not going to save all of these layers. It only saves what it can actually see right here on the screen. So I can just go File, and incidentally, if you don't see Save for Web, that's because this is a plugin that you need to install. It's a great plugin, and I suggest that you check out the video on how to do it. But otherwise, you can just go Save As, and again, you choose your location. So I'm going to go to ODP Video Training, name the file, so I'm going to call it button_HippoKey, and then you click Select File Type by Extension. We can actually collapse this. And again, you want GIF so that you can get that transparency. So click GIF, save. When you get this message, you just want to choose Export, and then click Save, and it's that simple.